fought for law and the law won. I needed money 'cause I had none. I fought for law and the law won.
Hi, I'm Nobar from NIAC, and I'm joined today by Salman H. Elmi Esquire. He has graciously agreed to spend some time to talk with us and talk with you about steps necessary to become a lawyer. First, a little bit of background on Salman. He practices pharmaceutical litigation here in the DC metro area, and he's not only a member of the DC board for the Iranian American Bar Association, but he's a member of the national board as well. So we're very happy to have you with us today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you.
And what exactly was it that compelled you to apply, take your LSAT and then apply for law school? What was the process, I guess, that you took to decide to go to law school?
My process was, I guess, traditional for the Iranian American, particularly when I was going to school. I graduated quite some time ago, and I was a pre-med, like many young Persians are, and but I felt as if the natural sciences weren't necessarily my strong suit. So as a result, I had majored in political science and also Persian studies at the same time as doing pre-med to try and cover my bases.
How did you decide which law schools to apply to? Was there a certain website or a certain kind of word of mouth, or who did you consult with to decide where, because they're very expensive and it takes a lot of time. So.
They are. And both of those are true statements. Very expensive. It does take a lot of time. I think for me personally, it was word of mouth. I think nowadays, the web would probably be a student's best tool. Also, you have publications such as U.S. News and World Report. They don't do just rankings on the university. They also do it specific to the grad school, and they do it specific even within grad schools as to what kind of specialty you're looking to pursue.
Okay.
So I did word of mouth. I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I wasn't very specific. I kind of knew I wanted to go into international type work. And I didn't know what that entailed. I didn't know what it would ask for. I didn't know what the backgrounds or qualifications were. And everyone who talked to me said, if you don't know where you want to end up, geographically and professionally within the law, to apply to go to the best school you get into nationally, using the national rankings. And that's what I ended up doing. And I think that was good advice then, and I think it's good advice today. And that's basically how it happened. The one piece of advice I would give to anyone: make sure you work in a law environment prior to applying to law school if you are at all unsure of that.
Very true.
And it doesn't have to be a law firm. It could be in the government if you're in the DC metro area particularly. It could be in a nonprofit. But at some point you need to understand what the day-to-day realities of being a lawyer entail. And it's not, what you see in the television or movies, but it's quite different.
Can you talk a little bit more about the law school experience? How was it? It was 3 years, correct?
Yeah, law school.
And what was the
3 years.
workload like?
Typically they have sayings that you kind of pick up in law school. They say, first year they work you to death. First year they scare you to death. Second year they work you to death. Third year they bore you to death. And that's actually quite accurate. First year, I think it's very important for future law students to know this. My experience was quite different growing up in a medical family, surrounded by doctors. I wasn't really sure what law school was like, what it entailed, what you had to do. Knowing what I know now, and the advice I always give is, listen, first year is extremely important. The substantive material you learn in your first year is the same exact substantive material that's on the bar exam. And for those of you that don't know, the bar exam is what allows you it gives you the license to practice law. So that's a very important year. In addition, your summers are quite important. The summer, you have 2 summers in law school since it's 3 years. The first year, oftentimes it's hard to secure a paying internship. So I often encourage people to look to maybe do a research assignment for a professor, or perhaps work for a stipend or even free. Second summer, again, very important. Typically, if you do the traditional track and you have a summer internship, if you do well, that employer will oftentimes offer you a position coming out of law school.
Do you recommend that the students get involved? I know that there's the review, the law review that people could write for, and there are things you can do within your law school program. How highly do you recommend that they get involved in it? Is it a make and break kind of deal, or is it just an added bonus, or what's your opinion on that?
I'm glad you asked that. My opinion is that it is more or less make or break. If you want to be a litigator, I think it's extremely important to participate in moot court if your school offers moot court, or any other kind of public speaking program. For the most part, however, one of the best extracurricular activities you can do as a law student is law review. If you're at a large enough school, many schools have multiple law reviews and journals. So it's not necessarily that you have to make the number one or the highest or the most difficult to get into. But it does 2 things. One, it certainly adds to your prestige factor. But secondly, and more practically, it teaches you some very valuable skills with respect to research, writing, citations, and publication. So, and then that gives you then, in turn, a tangible piece of work product to give to a potential employer if, in fact, you come to the end of your law school tenure and you have no employment lined up.
Well, I know you've got a busy schedule, so I only have 2 more questions for you, but they're very important questions. First, can you please let our students know your top 2 key pieces of advice if they want to seek a career in the legal world? And then the top 2 things they should absolutely avoid if they're seeking a career in the legal world.
Okay. I think top 2 pieces of advice, I think I would reiterate things I've already said. I would most definitely, if at all possible, and you know what you want to do, I would definitely try and get as specific as possible. Let's say you know you want to be a healthcare lawyer. I would go online and find out which law schools in America have the best healthcare law program or the best healthcare law professor. If you don't have any idea, things that I've mentioned before is once you get into law school, I would certainly concentrate on following up on extracurriculars such as moot court, writing on the law journal or law review, that type of extracurricular. Honestly, really isn't even seen as an extracurricular. It's pretty much seen as something you need to do. As far as things to avoid, don't go to law school because it's the right thing to do, or because you want a professional degree and you're not really sure which one. Law school is quite an undertaking. It's 3 years, and afterwards you have to study for the bar, which is quite an undertaking. If you know you want to be a lawyer and you've gone to law school, the one piece of advice I would have absolutely not to do is take a job your second summer that doesn't necessarily have long-term employment potential. You may love the job and it may teach you a lot, but the realities and the practicalities in this market and this day and age is that you really want to have some place that you can have lined up so that third year can live up to that expectation of boring you to death. Because basically you're waiting to start your career. So I think that would be